So there's this thing I used to do, and if I'm being honest, I still do it a lot. And I think a lot of you do too, where I would put stuff off and tell myself that, oh, I'll get to it. Not in a lazy way, not where I just don't feel like doing anything, but in a way where I'd put it off to a different time and genuinely believe that I'd actually do it at that time. I was like, yeah, I'll call my grandma this weekend. I'll start doing the thing next month. I'll tell that person how I feel about them when the timing is better. And it always seems so reasonable when you're saying it, right? Like you're not avoiding anything. You're just being smart about it. At least that's how it feels. You're waiting for the right time. And then one day you realize that there was no right time. Because 4 years have passed and you haven't done the thing that you were putting off until the next week. I want to talk about that today because I think that's a very big problem that a lot of people have, and no one really speaks about it. No one really warns you about it either because it doesn't feel like a problem. It feels like patience. It feels like being mature. The problem is that you think you have time. That's it. That's the whole thing. You walk around with this background assumption that there's always going to be more. There's more days, more weekends, more chances, more versions of the people that you love sitting around and waiting for you to get your act together. I don't think you do it on purpose, obviously not. I think you've just never questioned it before. Let me back up. The other day, I was sitting in this coffee shop with a $10 latte. Don't get me started on the price of things now. I don't even like lavender, but it was some lavender thing. But okay. And I'm sitting there and I overhear these two older guys. They were just kind of sitting there across from each other, drinking their coffee or whatever they were having, not really saying much. And then one of them looks at the other and goes, "Man, it goes fast." And that was all he said. That was the whole sentence. The other guy doesn't even say anything back. He just kind of nods his head like he's saying, yeah, it does. And I swear to you, I had to sit with that for a while because it's not like some things where, you might get a wake-up call because there's some drama. This was just two dudes who had lived enough of life, and they were older too. They were like, I don't know, 50s, right? And they just lived enough life to feel how fast it goes by. And they were saying it like you'd say it's cold outside. And here's the thing that got me. When you're young, and I'm young, right? You hear that and you go, yeah, sure. It goes fast, but you don't really believe it. You can't, because from where you're standing, it feels endless. It feels like you have this enormous ocean of time that's stretched out in front of you, and you can afford to waste some of it, or even a lot of it. You can afford to wait. What's one more weekend? What's one more year? There's so many of them left. That's such a big lie. That's the exact lie that keeps so many people trapped for most of their lives into doing nothing. Because time doesn't run out the way you think it does. You think it's going to be dramatic. You think there's going to be some big alarm that happens, or some moment where the universe taps you on the shoulder and goes, hey, the clock's ticking. What are you doing? But there is no alarm. The time just kind of leaks away without you noticing. It just leaks out in front of you while you're scrolling and waiting and telling yourself that you'll do the thing when you're less tired, when you're less broke, or when you're less scared, or, and you never notice it leaking away because every individual day by itself feels like nothing. One day's unimportant when you've got so many left. Who cares about one day, right? But see, that's the whole issue. Your life is made out of days you thought didn't count. And I think about this with people the most because stuff, projects, dreams, you can usually go back to those. You can start the business when you're 40. You can learn the guitar at 60, right? Whatever. But people are different. People are on their own clock, and you don't get to see the timer. And we treat the people in our lives like they're furniture a lot of the time, as sad as that sounds. Like, they'll always be in the room. You know, your parents will always be a phone call away. Your friends will always be down to hang out and free all the time. That one person who really got you, you know, they understand you, they'll always be around, right? You'll reconnect eventually. You always do. But then you don't. And it's not even a tragedy most of the time. Most of the time, it's way quieter. People just kind of drift away and drift apart from you. Life pulls everybody in different directions, and the window that you assumed would stay open forever just closes while you weren't even looking. And bro, the part that gets to me, the part that actually keeps me up sometimes, is that you don't even get a warning the last time was the last time. You think about that? Like, there was a last time when your dad picked you up and carried you around. And it happened. It was a real day, and nobody marked it, you know. You didn't know it was the last one. You probably squirmed and wanted to get down. There was the last time where your whole childhood friend group got together. And they were all in the same room together. You were probably annoyed at someone, or maybe someone was late. We don't get the warning. The last times in our lives mostly happen without any sort of ceremony at all, unless it's like, you know, high school graduation. And we only find out about these things like years later. We only find out they were the last time years later. Looking backward, going, oh, okay, I know now. And yeah, I know, this is probably getting pretty heavy. You're probably thinking about some time that you didn't realize was your last time, and it ended up being, and you're just thinking about it now. But I'm not trying to make you sad, you know? That's not what I'm trying to do, because here's the part that actually, you know, turns it around. And I think this part is the part that I actually care about. You think realizing all this would make you anxious, like, oh great, now I have to optimize every second. Now I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and grind and never waste a moment and become some Sigma productivity robot who color codes his breakfast. No, that's not it at all. It's actually the same disease, so to say, just in a different way. Because the dude who wastes his whole life scrolling and the dude who grinds every second to hit some metric, they're both doing the same thing. They're both treating the present moment like it's a stepping stone to get to a better moment that's coming. They're both living in constantly, they're both living not in the present, they're living in the future. They're both living in later, right? One's hiding from it, one's chasing it, but neither of them are actually living in the present. And the thing about realizing that you don't have an infinite time isn't that it makes you hustle harder, you know? It's that it makes you present. It makes you change what you're willing to put off. Because once you actually feel it, like, in your body, not just nod at it, right? You stop being able to lie to yourself about things that actually matter. You stop being able to say later to the stuff that is actually important to you. Because some part of you finally knows that later isn't guaranteed. Later is a story that you tell yourself to make yourself feel better. But now is the only place that things actually happen in. Let me give you an uncomfortable question, and I want you to actually sit with it, not just think about it for a second and then skip past it, you know? If you knew, like if you really knew that you had a regular amount of time, nothing scary, just a normal life, but you couldn't pretend that it was infinite anymore, what would you stop putting off? Who would you call? You know, what have you been waiting to do until some imaginary future version of yourself with more confidence and more money and less fear finally shows up to do it? Because I've got news about that guy. That guy doesn't exist, and he's not coming. The you that's going to do the thing is the same, as harsh as it sounds, the same broke and scared and tired you that's listening to this right now. There's no upgraded model, so to say, that's going to arrive in the mail. It's just you. It was always just going to be you. And I think we hide behind someday because someday feels like a cocoon to us. It feels safe. Someday never makes you face anything. As long as the thing is in the someday pile, you're never going to actually have to find out if you'd fail at it. You'd never have to risk the awkward phone call. You never have to feel the fear of actually trying or the fear of rejection. Someday is the most comfortable place to be. And it's where dreams go to die. It's where dreams go to die with nobody noticing. And no one's gonna come save you from that. You have to walk out yourself. And I had this moment, real talk, where I almost didn't do this whole thing, this channel, the talking, all of it, because I had 100 reasons to wait, right? I'll start when I have better equipment. I'll start when I know what I'm doing. I'll start when I'm less embarrassed and when I feel more educated about what I'm talking about. And one day I kind of just got tired of my own excuses, really. Like, I genuinely got bored of hearing myself say, oh, I'll do this later. And I realized that later was just fear in sheep's clothing, right? So I just started. I started bad, awkwardly. You can look at my first video on this channel. The production quality is not as good. The mic isn't as good. Probably doesn't. A lot of things aren't as good about it. And I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest. But that didn't stop me, right? I want to be clear about that, though, because I didn't just get brave. I just stopped believing that I had time to be a coward. And that's how I want you to reframe it. You don't have time to keep waiting to feel ready. You're spending the actual currency of your life buying more time to maybe possibly do the thing eventually. That's the worst trade in the world. That's like setting money on fire to stay warm. And listen, I'm not saying every day has to mean something huge, right? I'm not saying that you can never lie in bed for a whole afternoon, watch a dumb show, eat a family bag size of chips that was, let's be honest, intended for a family. Do that. Come on. Rest is fine. The difference is whether you choose it or whether it just happened to you, right? There's a version of wasting a day where you decided, today I'm gonna rest. I don't really feel like doing anything. I'm just gonna rest today. And there's a version of the day where it just sort of happens and just slid out of your hands, and you look up at 11 p.m. and you have this hollow feeling like, where did the day go, right? It's the same day, but they're completely different. And I think most of our lives leak away in the second kind of day without us ever really deciding it or deciding anything. So you're probably asking yourself, right? Like, what do you do with all of this? Because I don't just want to stress you out and then bounce and leave, right? I think what you need to do is small, honestly. I don't think you fix this with some dramatic, instant life overhaul. I think you fix it by picking one thing out of your pile that you've set aside for someday in the future. Just one that's been sitting there, maybe the longest or the biggest thing, right? The one that makes your chest tighten when you think about it. And do it this week. Do it tomorrow if you can, right? Even today. And it doesn't even have to be the whole thing. Just start it. Just the first ugly, embarrassing step of it. Send the text, make the call, sign up for the thing. Open the document, whatever your version is. You know what it is. You knew the second that you clicked on this video. You know what you're putting on. And do that thing not because it's going to change your life, but because it'll prove to you that later was never real. That now was always available and the door was unlocked the whole time, right? And you were just standing in front of it and telling yourself that, it was locked or it was a wall. And I'll be honest with you, you're probably going to feel that resistant the second that this video ends. Your brain is gonna go, yeah, good video. I'll do it tomorrow. You might feel motivated, right? And then I want you to catch that right there. That little tomorrow is the exact same voice that we're talking about. That's your life leaking out in front of you. That smooth, reasonable, friendly little voice that's been quietly running around in your head the whole time. You don't have to fight it forever. You just have to not believe it just this one time. Because here's the truth that I keep kind of circling back to in a way. And I'll just say it plainly. The problem was never that you ran out of time. The problem was that you believed you had so much of it that none of it mattered. And the second that you stop believing that, even a little, even just today, even just once, right? Your life kind of quietly hands itself back to you. And you think that you realize that it was always yours. You were just waiting for permission for some reason to start living it. And if you're trying something new, like actually doing the thing instead of putting it off for another day, just know I believe in you. You've got this. Have a good day.